Gather around. It's time for the show to begin. Ladies and gentlemen, this is...
Hey everyone, my name is Jason.
Hi friends, it's Desiree Josen.
All right, there were so many matches this year that were just too much.
So this won't be a shocker because we've had a handful of really awesome matches that we just can't stop talking about.
How many times have these guys fought? Like it's been quite a bit.
I've been saying this all year. They're just so great to watch. We saw the heel turn coming, and then when it happened, nice and bloody, both dramatic and beautiful.
You are now entering the ring with Chutes and Ladders podcast. Here are your hosts, Desiree and Jason.
Chutes and Ladders, WrestleMania 12 Rewind. What's going on, everyone? My name is Jason.
Hi friends, it's Desiree Josen.
30 years ago, WrestleMania 12 gave us some iconic moments, elevated superstars, and made Shawn Michaels the guy. This is going to be a fun episode. For the first time in Chutes and Ladders history, we're actually doing a rewind from a prior Mania. Des, what are your initial thoughts?
I absolutely love this, and for one reason only, and that's because of Shawn Michaels. So anytime that I get to talk about him and gloat about how wonderful he is, it's going to be a good episode.
Fair enough. All right, we're gonna come at this with a couple different topics. First topic is gonna be fan reception, then versus now, the crowd reaction at the time, mixed opinions over the years, and how nostalgia has changed the conversation. Des, when you think about WrestleMania 12, what was the reaction? Was the reaction fair, or did history judge the show a little too harshly?
I feel like it's very complicated. This one is a very controversial Mania. Reason why is because it wasn't a big spectacle. The card wasn't great. We'll just be honest there. And the only thing that really made this Mania was Shawn and Bret. And I'm okay with that. But I feel like the fans then, and even still now, some people rewatch it and they're like, this one is very lackluster, very... it was exhausting a little bit to watch. But now I feel like people are warming up to it and they appreciate it now, to where I'm like, you should have appreciated it then too, because these two guys, if you had the opportunity to see them live together, how fortunate are you? Because these two guys are Hall of Famers. They are on my Mount Rushmore. And it's like the technical guy and the showman. And you put them two together, and the fact that they had such heat and the history of them. Yeah, so I get it. It's going to be mixed reviews still to this day, but I feel like now it's getting more respect than it did when it was actually happening.
And you know what's funny? That was the year that I actually... Because I've always been a lifelong wrestling fan, but 94, 95, let's say 93 to 95, I was kind of like in the lull. And this Mania actually kind of brought me back up because I love the storyline of Shawn Michaels and Bret Hart, two of my favorites of all time, Undertaker and Diesel. And we'll get to that in a second. They fought, obviously, the street fight. So, yeah, listen, overall, the card wasn't the best. But again, WrestleMania wasn't a spectacle back then. No way would a WrestleMania be held at the Pond in Anaheim today. It's not going to happen. Now they're going to football stadiums. Back then they went to basketball and hockey arenas. The other thing that's interesting about this particular Mania, WrestleMania 10 is one of the greatest of all time.
Yeah.
So that was amazing. WrestleMania 11 was not. You can argue argue that WrestleMania 11 is one of the lacklusters of all time. So they needed to hit on WrestleMania 12. I know there's mixed reactions, but because of that Mania, they've had Iron Man matches for years to come, and the superstars that were there, they definitely brought it. It was also during the peak of the Monday Night Wars. So overall, I personally loved it, but I understand the mixed reactions.
Yeah, I get it. When I watch it, you have to be in the right mindset, but then you also have to appreciate that ring psychology behind it all. So I get it. People.
And you know what? It gave you that backdrop, which is still iconic to this day, so I love it. All right, let's talk about notable matches of the card besides the Iron Man match. So what stood out to you?
The Ultimate Warrior and Triple
I
H
had a feeling you're going to say that.
squash match. It was 1 minute and 39 seconds. Tell me how great that was.
Yeah, and that match is just interesting because Triple H, or Hunter Hearst Helms at the time, was the blue blood. He was annoying. I honestly thought he was going to be a jobber for the rest of his career.
Well, after that, yeah.
And now he's running the show, which is funny. Ultimate Warrior, 6 years prior, was in arguably the greatest WrestleMania match of all time. So for them to kind of give him that, it was interesting because I think a lot of people, they love the Warrior because of the nostalgic value of it. But as far as like a wrestler, I think people kind of knew that his time was winding down. So it was interesting that they gave him the squash, and they didn't get him to put someone else over. So, but maybe they wanted him to have another run. But that was definitely interesting to say the least.
Yeah, that was really hard to watch, really. And especially knowing that when you knew Warrior's history and then he gets a minute match, you're like, that's just awkward. And now look at Hunter Hearst Helmsley is now where he is today. Crazy, huh?
Absolutely. Okay, so we already talked about Shawn Michaels. We knew he was part of the Clique. I'm going to actually mention 2 other members of the Clique. So the first is the street fight between Goldust and Roddy Piper. What's interesting, it was supposed to be Razor Ramon.
Yeah.
And I know that's kind of out there, that's in the zeitgeist, but it wasn't. He was obviously dealing with this demon, so, obviously that's not a fun issue to talk about. But they gave it to Roddy Piper, who, again, was in prior Manias. Again, this is another aging superstar that I think they were kind of like, you know what? Let's give him something. So this was definitely shock value, especially at the time, given Goldust to Cody Rhodes' brother. He was really pushing that storyline and angle. It was
super uncomfortable on purpose.
Yeah, it definitely was. I don't think that, but it was interesting. They got, I don't know if there was quote unquote a winner, but they obviously had put Roddy Piper over. It was one of the first times I've seen a backlot brawl, and the whole thing of them running in the backstage and kind of running the ring. It was definitely a spectacle, but that's definitely stood out to me. And again, Razor Ramon was supposed to be part of that. He was supposed to recapture the Intercontinental title, but obviously they changed plans.
Yeah.
The other match. And again, I know some people don't necessarily give him the best credit for his work, but Undertaker versus Diesel. You have 2 guys that are 7 foot. The storyline that they kind of leading up to her, Undertaker, Undertaker, like the vignettes, him showing that Diesel was in the casket prior, they went someone else. Diesel wrecking the coffin. This the back and forth, and in the end, obviously Undertaker gets that win. It is funny because I saw a shoot interview where Kevin Nash said, "Look, there was one guy I wanted to put over, and it was Mark." So well done. These 2 7-footers, that was a fun match to me.
I think it was one of Diesel's better matches.
I really do think so too. And again, it was. I think it was supposed to be the second best match, and it was.
Mm-hmm.
All right, now let's talk about that Iron Man match 30 years later. It was the first ever Iron Man match. Technical masterpiece versus pacing versus perfect pacing. The finish and its legacy. Dez, was the Iron Man match ahead of its time, or does it get graded based on legacy more than execution?
I love it. I am so biased. I am the wrong person to ask about if this was a good or whatever, because I love both guys. I've been in love with them since I was little, and I can't keep my eyes off of them. And any time that any clips of this match comes on, I stop whatever I do and I gasp. And I'm like, look at them. Look how great they are. And it's just, I feel like it's just so technical. It's so good. Very few people can really pull off an Iron Man match just because it's an hour long. So good for them for having the endurance to pull off, 60 minutes of throwing your bodies around, but keeping us engaged. That is huge. And the fact that these two did not get along, even in real life, they had some real heat, and it's just so good. I love it. The ring psychology, the physicality, and it's just pure storytelling at its finest, but with Shawn hitting him with the sweet chin music here and just getting that win. 1996, like the theme of WrestleMania that year was like the boyhood dream, and that was Shawn's, was to win like the world title. My boyhood dream of 1996 was to marry Shawn Michaels. So, at least one of them came true. But it was just, I feel like it solidified Shawn because it was like a passing of a torch. Because if you look at it, around that time, like 92, 93, 94, that was Bret. Hands down, Bret is one of the best wrestlers. As much as he is emotional and sensitive still to this day, you got to give it to him. He's fantastic at what he does. But with Shawn, he was a total package. And I just feel like this just legitimized him. He was just a superstar, and this bridged the transition from what WWE or WWF was at that time to the Attitude Era. And I love that. And I feel like that's where it wasn't appreciated, is like we didn't see this subtle transition to the powerhouse and pop culture of what it was going to be.
Amen to that. That actually is a perfect segue for the impact of WrestleMania 12. I mean, it cemented Shawn Michaels as the guy. It continued Undertaker's Mania legacy. It helped stabilize WWE after a shaky year. Des, did WrestleMania 12 do enough to put WWE back on track after WrestleMania 11, or was it more of a course correction than a home run?
I think it was a launching pad. I'll just say it that way. It launched, and I'll say it again, it launched Shawn. Shawn and Stone Cold are the two people that you think of when it comes to the Attitude Era. And it solidified them. And even Stone Cold was even in this Mania too, even though he wasn't Austin 316. But it just made Shawn the true main event champion. It set the stage for these kind of matches in the future. But it was just, I mean, this one's a tough one just because the card wasn't that great. But it was great. I don't know. It's so complicated. It's a love-hate relationship of, I just say this is what got us to the late 90s and what made us fall in love with wrestling.
Yeah, absolutely. And what are your overall final thoughts? Because I definitely have one myself.
I love it. I can't say enough. It's just because it's Shawn. I love this man. I will forever. He will be my number one guy alongside Randy Savage. And it's just, this makes my heart warm because this is, when I was younger, I was in like elementary school, middle school, watching this and watching him slowly climb from the Rockers to coming out with Sensational Sherry to this and DX. I just love this, and it's just pure magic to me. So I have no words. I love him.
I love it. Okay, cool. I love that you love it. So you kind of hit it earlier. So we mentioned the Click. Razor Ramon, Scott Hall supposed to be there. Didn't happen. Mm-hmm. Diesel was transitioning out as well. Yeah. 1996 was definitely a launching pad because now you elevate Shawn Michaels. Remember, they were tabbing the WWE, like, I mean, from a marketing from a marketing standpoint, they basically said the new era, right? Now you have Shawn Michaels, Bret Hart, etc., right? That same year, a couple months later, was the NWO.
Yep.
So 1996 was definitely a historic year in wrestling. Again, that's when I really, really just fell in love with it all over again. WWE or WWF at the time was different. Obviously, Shawn was kind of rocking it. You had Vader, British Bulldog, Owen Hart. Ahmed Johnson was, for a little bit, Goldust, etc. But obviously, but this is when the NWO happened also. But I really do think that overall, they had to figure out a way to kind of pass that torch. I mean, the Iron Man match in itself, I think that's what it did. It achieved that purpose. And it showed up Shawn Michaels to have an amazing year, and he ended up having, from the next 3 years, he basically was either champion or fighting for it. So I think WrestleMania 12, in my humble opinion, listen, it wasn't WrestleMania 10. Definitely wasn't the launching pad. The next year, remember, Bret Hart fought Stone Cold at Mania 13, and Undertaker beat Sid for the title. So this definitely was a launching pad, just like you said, to the Attitude Era. The Monday Night Wars were at its peak with the NWO on the other side. So I love WrestleMania 12. I know other people have different opinions, but I really do think this is special.
Yeah, I feel like this was like a turning point from wrestling being a sport to entertainment.
1,000,000%. All right, that wraps up this episode down WrestleMania 12 Rewind Lane. What are your thoughts on WrestleMania 12? Please shoot us a DM at the Chutes and Ladders. Like always, please like, share, and subscribe both on YouTube and Spotify. Once again, my name is Jason.
I'm Desiree Josen.
All right, until next time, have a blessed day and a blessed week.
Have a great week. Bye, friends.
This has been Chutes and Ladders. Follow us for more content.